You can be great at scheduling, tracking KPIs, and writing flawless project plans. But the moment you're expected to lead people, everything changes. Welcome to the Project Management Masterclass, the show where project leaders are made. This platform exists for one reason. Tools don't deliver projects, people do. That's why the Power Skills Academy was created, to help project professionals master the skills that actually move the needle. Emotional intelligence, communication, collaborative leadership, and strategic thinking. The skills that elevate your influence and make people want to follow your lead. If you ever thought, what am I missing? This is your answer. Visit www.developpowerskills.com. The link is in the description. Now, here's your host, Brittany Wilkins.
Thank you for tuning into Project Management Masterclass. I truly appreciate each and every one of you for taking the time to listen, grow with the show. Today, I want to give a special shout out to Megan. She's a new listener who recently reached out to me on LinkedIn. Her message reads, I'm a new listener to Project Management Masterclass, and I wanted to thank you for the content that you provide on that platform. As an educator looking to explore a career shift into project management, I found your podcast to deliver a wealth of information and insight. I look forward to following your future episodes, and I would appreciate the opportunity to connect with you here as well. Well, first and foremost, as I stated to you, Megan, I truly appreciate your message. Thank you for making Project Management Masterclass part of your journey. And also as well, the project management community, I just wanted to let you know, welcomes you. So stay tuned, Megan, and I will be checking in on you and how your transition is going. So listeners, whether it's a fan mail or a LinkedIn message, I love reading and connecting with listeners like you of the show. So please feel free to reach out to me. The contact details are in the show description. Now on to today's show. I'll be honest, with the emergence of ride-sharing apps, I rarely or hardly ever take taxis. But there I was standing outside of Universal Studios, really exhausted after a long day trying to get an Uber back to my hotel. And my phone was on 10%, the app kept showing no drivers available, and the surge pricing had doubled the fare. I waited, refreshed the app, waited some more, and nothing. So as I stood there waiting and just kind of looking around, I noticed and saw a taxi stand with 5 taxis sitting there. And there was no app needed, no price hikes, just a ride waiting for me. So for the first time in many years, I took a taxi. And you know what? It worked, just like it always has. And that got me thinking, how often do we rush to embrace new ways of working while completely ignoring the old methods that still get the job done? You're probably wondering, like, where am I going with this? Well, in project management, we see this all the time. I think Agile is like the new shiny Uber, and people act like Waterfall is outdated, just like taxis are outdated. But just like taxis, Waterfall still has a place. And in today's episode, I want to talk about Agile and Waterfall methodologies and why you need both, and how and why in certain scenarios or situations as project managers and leaders, knowing when to use either Agile or Waterfall, or maybe a combination of both, like a hybrid approach. We've all seen how ride-sharing apps like Uber and Lyft disrupted the traditional taxi industry. And just like in project management, Agile disrupted the traditional project management methodology. But did taxis disappear? No. Did waterfall methodology disappear? No. Because despite all of Uber's innovations, taxis still have advantages. Just like despite all agile methodologies, waterfall methodology still has a place. Uber has brought speed and convenience, but it didn't replace taxis. It simply created another option. Just like Agile has brought the speed and the convenience, but it did not necessarily replace traditional project methods or methodologies. And in some cases, taxis adapted by integrating app-based booking similar to Uber. And the project management has evolved and adapted as well and has integrated Agile as, a core fundamental methodology. So bringing this back into kind of the project management, again, Agile is often seen as the Uber of project management. Fast, flexible, modern. Meanwhile, Waterfall, again, is like the traditional taxi, very structured, very predictable and reliable. But just like taxis, again, Waterfall isn't going anywhere. In fact, depending on your project, it still may be the best option. The key, I believe, isn't choosing one over the other. It's knowing, again, when to use each. Or in some cases, do we really have a choice? And what I mean by that, some of the companies that I've been part of, or some of my project management colleagues have been part of, who I network and talk about project management with, we have well-established new product development process that there is a methodology to follow, and it traditionally follows the waterfall methodology. And so from my experience, while new product development follows that methodology, that waterfall methodology, there are things that can be done to expedite and execute and accelerate the project execution if there is a waiver process within each phase gate. There are some things like a checklist that may exist in a new product development process, and many things on that checklist may not be applicable to the project. So if your organization is set up in such a way where you have a robust design leader who plays a part in your overall project, you would have a conversation with your robust design leader talking about the checklist and why certain deliverables may not be applicable. And then if the robust design leader agrees with that and approves it based upon the justification, in a way, there is some agility in the waterfall methodology. So sometimes Agile is baked into the waterfall methodology, just depending on the process and how you are executing the project. So now I really want to talk about, putting the analogy aside of Uber versus the taxis, why waterfall still works. Why is waterfall still relevant? Simple. Because some projects require structure and predictability. Here's where waterfall excels. First, it excels because when you have a fixed scope, if you're working on a project with clear, well-defined requirements like building a bridge, launching a government program, or rolling out a new pharmaceutical product or drug, waterfall ensures that every phase is planned before execution. Two, why waterfall excels is documentation and compliance. Some industries, like healthcare, finance, construction, have strict regulatory requirements, and you can't afford to kind of iterate your way through an FDA approval. Three, I think waterfall excels risk management, and stability. In large-scale projects, stability often matters more than speed. Imagine if we were trying to construct a 50-story skyscraper using Agile. You wouldn't want to be halfway through building the foundation while already testing out the rooftop lounge, right? At least I wouldn't. That's why, sometimes in construction, you have to follow a linear structured process. And that is exactly what Waterfall is designed for. And I believe oftentimes we can become so overwhelmed by the scope of the project and the timeline that we have to execute the project. And I believe the waterfall methodology, at least from my experience, it really gives you that blueprint for project success with the 5 phases of initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, controlling, and closing out the project. And even with the planning, it is a huge undertaking, but planning within those 10 knowledge areas and at least having the foundational information and all the ITTOs, all the methods that can be utilized, there is a playbook there. And again, you will have to take that playbook and tailor it to your particular project environment. But I believe it lays out the blueprint for you, or at least gives you that starting point to be able to build and design your project plan as a way of kind of navigating through the ambiguity and navigating through the gray and the complexity of the project. Waterfall really helped you kind of bite a chunk out of the elephant and really plan it step by step and not having to really eat the elephant all at once. Ready to elevate your project management game? Introducing Project Management Masterclass Podcast Premium. Imagine unlocking bonus episodes packed with exclusive insights, advanced strategies, and power skills development, all tailored to help you lead projects with confidence and stay ahead in your career. With expert guidance and real-world applications, you'll gain the tools needed to navigate complex projects, inspire teams, and deliver results like never before. No fluff, just high-value lessons to fuel your growth. And no long-term contracts, month-to-month subscription. Cancel anytime. But don't settle for average. Step into excellence with Project Management Masterclass Podcast Premium. Subscribe today and take your career to the next level. But its counterpart, Agile, has its place as well. Many say Agile is the present, it is the future. Are we right or wrong to say that? Is it yes or no for you? I believe Agile is very powerful because it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. Agile works best when requirements are unclear or rapidly changing. So if you're developing a software, launching a startup, or testing a new product or feature, Agile allows you to pivot fast based upon that feedback. And it gives you that speed and flexibility. Instead of spending months defining every single detail, Agile lets you release small working versions and improving them over time. And collaboration is key. I think Agile thrives in environments where teams work closely with stakeholders and customers, adjusting deliverables based on real-time input. So if you're developing that new mobile app, you don't want to spend a year designing something only to find out users hate the layout. So it really helps you to adapt and really refine as you go. And when I first started learning about Agile, I really love, the principles about Agile, how it really focuses on interactions and building those relationships over processes and documentation. And what I appreciated about Agile, because it really helps me to really center myself as a project management and leader, and how I lead projects, and not only how I lead projects, how I lead people, but how I build and develop best teams and building those connections. Once I really got into the groove of project management, those who work with me on project management know I am really laser focused, and I am go, go, go. And in meetings, I am really driving hard to understand where we are at in the project, closing out on these actions. So I'm going from A to B to C and saying, tell me this, or why don't we have this? When are we going to have this? And I'm just so focused on the engineers and the team getting it right, making sure we're documenting the key decisions, the risks, the actions, the issues, again, all the key decisions. And sometimes in the process and kind of trying to rise to the pressure of the timeline, the connections get lost. So times you kind of use that human element. So when I really started to work with digital teams and really embraced the Agile methodology, it really kind of brought me down to earth a little bit and say, again, processes and documentation is great, but really focus on that human connection and really kind of building those interactions up front and really kind of connecting with the team, and everything else will fall into place if we really work to leverage and build those relationships. Now, I've been in scenarios where it wasn't necessarily waterfall or Agile. Like I said, some processes within some of the companies I've been part of, we have a new product development processes. But for some of the strategic initiatives that we lead that don't follow kind of the new product development, these are kind of the new wave, the new innovative projects. It takes a little bit of a hybrid approach. When I was working with our business unit leaders in sustainability in our digital team, working to develop a carbon calculator for greenhouse gas emissions and reducing our carbon footprint, or finding ways to reduce the customer's carbon footprint by developing this calculator to run data analytics, we had to merge both the waterfall and the Agile methodology. Being that we were an organization who was reporting ESG metrics, it was a requirement from the SEC for us to go under auditing due to that. And so I had to kind of embrace the team in knowing to say, yes, we're building this carbon calculator. It's an iterative process. And at the same time, we really have to thoroughly document the technical stack, the process from the business side, from the digital side, due to us reporting ESG metrics and having to go through under SEC audit. It was very, very critical. So in some situations, it's just depending on the scenario, what's at stake, and what is the purpose of the project, and what purpose does the project or the outcome of the product or the service, what does it really serve? But also too, when you're thinking about, should I choose waterfall over Agile, if you have a choice, if you don't have a really clearly structured process, or it may just be how the project manager chooses their way of working. I will also think about, are the teams you lead mature in Agile methodologies? Because Agile is like a buzzword to say we have to be more Agile, we should embrace Agile. And what I realized is some teams still struggle with the traditional waterfall method. And in one instance where we were trying to use Agile, and we had our Jira board, we had our backlog, we set our sprints for 2 weeks. There would be days where decisions or actions needed to be done by some of the business unit leaders. And just due to the speed and all the other priorities our business unit leaders were going through, Agile wasn't really working out. It was like, if this task is not completed, within 3 days, it puts the whole sprint at risk. So you really have to ask yourself, is the organization equipped to be Agile, and are they trained in Agile methodologies? And then how mature are we from a project management standpoint? And that will kind of give you some indication whether or not which approach is best. So here, if you still listening to this show, what are the big takeaways? Waterfall and Agile are enemies. In fact, the best project managers, again, we have to know how to blend the two. And I believe they can coexist. Agile for software, Waterfall for infrastructure. For example, if you're building a new hospital, the physical construction follows Waterfall. But for software, for patient management, maybe you may develop an Agile methodology. And again, as I said, you can have Agile inside of Waterfall. Some teams run Agile sprints for development, but use Waterfall for the overall project planning and approvals. And some modular initiatives and case studies, you may use some scaled Agile frameworks. Many large companies use Agile at scale while keeping some governance elements from Waterfall. So again, just think of it again like Uber introducing those schedule rides. You get the flexibility, but with the predictability of a traditional taxi service. So what's the lesson here? The best project managers aren't stuck in one mindset. We can't be stuck in one mindset and have one favorite over the other. You just have to know when to go Agile, when to go Waterfall, and when to mix the two. Just like taxis and Uber, both have their place, but it's all about choosing the right tool for the job. But I would encourage, don't overanalyze it. Start with what you have. So I want to hear from you. Have you worked both in Agile and Waterfall environments? What's your experience with hybrid models? So be sure, again, as I stated at the beginning of the show, drop me a message, leave a review, connect with me. And if you found today's episode valuable, be sure to subscribe to the Project Management Masterclass so you never miss an insight that can level up your career. Until next time, keep leading, keep learning, and keep delivering.
Thanks for listening to the Project Management Masterclass. If you're ready to lead at a higher level, explore the Power Skills Academy and start mastering the skills that drive real project success. Visit www.developpowerskills.com. The link is in the description. See you in the next episode.